Hi, Pirates. Today we are talking about Thinkers High, the origins behind Thinkers High, where it came from, its purpose as to why you need Thinkers High in your life every single week. In case you're new to Thinkers High, we released a book at the end of the year. It's 52 pirate proverbs to read throughout the year, sit down, consume it, get the information, the knowledge, and then use AI to work with the prompt and the quotes of our favorite mini books over the years. So, we'll be talking about why thinking is the most important kind of thinking today. And we'll also be talking about how to think with using AI. So, Eddie, if you want to kick us off, what are the origins of Thinkers High?
Well, we were so excited about just kind of rejuvenating our book process, right? I mean, and as Christopher, when I've complained about lovingly, is like, we are coming out with Creator Capitalist, but that's been a project we've been working on for a couple of years, and that we have more that we want to say, more that we want to write about, and that sometimes as we kind of play around and work on the book process. There are the big ones. Snow Leopard was a big one. 22 Laws was a big one. Creator Capitalist is a big one, and we're very intentional about that, and we're creating a lot. But we were kind of thinking about giving ourselves permission to play. And that sometimes we like playing the oldies. And you go to a concert and people get mad when they play something new and they want the good old standbys to come out.
When I go to see the Rolling Stones, I want to hear Jumpin' Jack Flash. It's a gas, gas, gas.
Yes. Well, and there's a reason why. It's not just that, the audience is stuck in the past and the artists are trying to push to the future, is that, those songs and the lyrics, just like great poems and great quotes, they stick with us and they mean something for us. And for as much as we love our words and we know that our mini books can take a long time for people to consume, maybe more than one trip with dude wipes, maybe two. But like we like some of the words, we come back to them when we jam, we revisit them and they make us happy. And we were wondering if they might make some of the pirates and the pirate ship happy too. And that the more we did that, we were like, we should really tag the lines that we love because we repeat them often and just kind of catalog them. And then also, we know that when we drop some of these lines, that there's context that you get that we have, but then what if we kind of made that more explicit? And so we did kind of this is a little bit of an art house project for us. We're not sure exactly where it's going to go. We've tried to make Thinkers High a beautiful looking book, a high end book that we've spent some extra time and care to make sure that it's not just a regular book. But we are hoping that this is something that you keep by your side. Could be the first thing that you read when you wake up, could be the last thing that you read when you wake up. It could be something that you want to read when you're down. The revenue prevention department has you by the ankles and they're pulling you back into the quicksand and you're feeling like I need some energy or maybe I need some courage and maybe I need some creativity. And so as Bree, you were laying out, like we've not only got, 50 plus odd some of our favorite quotes and we've laid them out, quote on one page and then kind of a what does it mean? So what? Why is it important? Now what? What are you supposed to do about it? And then a couple of AI prompts so that you get to be able to jam with it. Because we figured that when you're fighting the good fight and when the storms come, you might need a little bit of, Uncle Christopher, Aunt Bree kind of whispering these words into your mind and that you can just turn to it without having us nearby with it. So that was part of the origin with it, at least for me. I don't know, Christopher, Bree, you have a perspective on that to add?
I think some of the origin also is everyone in the pirate ship has Thinkers High. We want to sit here and we're in a day and age now where human thinking is the most important thing that arguably might be existing on the planet as we continue to move into the age of AI. About a year ago, I was talking to someone on the pirate ship who came to us and said, I just want to think about this every single day. Like, how is this ingrained in my soul? And this is the answer to doing that. This is how you have category design front and center in your brain, how you walk out the door and look at a billboard and say, well, that's horrible category design. Thinkers High is the beginning to having that every single day. And obviously, if you come into the Category Design Academy, you're going to naturally get that there. But if you don't quite have the cash flow and you need the next step into it, that's where Thinkers High comes from. So if you want to think about it all of the time, every second, every day, and get diseased with what we have here as category design, human thinking is important. Category design is also important. And this is kind of middle ground between both of those two very big concepts that are transformational for all of the pirates.
So if you think about the idea that thinking about thinking is the most important kind of thinking, that's an interesting idea to think. And when you sort of open that up, thinking about thinking is the most important kind of thinking, you say, okay, well, what is thinking? And when you look at it, most of us as well, of course, get taught primarily what to think, whether it's in traditional education, when we consume media, and of course, marketing itself, category design by presenting a point of view is actually teaching people what to think about a certain topic. In category design, of course, it's what to think about a certain problem framed a certain way, and therefore a solution to that problem. So when you think about it that way, what you realize is, if most of what we've been thinking was thinking is actually being taught what to think and not how to think, what Thinkers High is really about is piercing through that, is piercing through being taught what to think and actually doing some self reflection, some self consideration, and considering a range of ideas around a particular topic. And so, Thinkers High as a concept is something that we originally sort of coined as we were working together. Because I don't know if you guys are like us, but when we get working on something, we're in that creative mode, we're in that innovative mode. And you can almost, some people call it flow. You get lost in your own thinking, and one thought leads to another thought. And then you're arguing the different thought and you're going back and forth, and you're in this incredibly creative, innovative flow state while in the process of creating something. Ultimately, that's a big part of what Thinkers High is. It's really the feeling one gets when we stop thinking what we've been told to think and start actually thinking about a topic in a free range, open way. And so, as it relates to this book, we just thought it would be really fun and cool to create a book that has a whole bunch of our favorite quotes, many of which we created, some of which others created. And then next to those quotes, give people tools to use AI to help them think about that quote so that they can inspire their own thinking about thinking as opposed to just being taught what to think. And once your brain gets trained to think about thinking as opposed to just think what we've been taught and told, you kind of get addicted to thinking. And that's what we hope, that lots of people get addicted to their own free range thinking about things, asking why 5 to 7 times, exploring topics, educating themselves, realizing maybe they were wrong. Sometimes it's an amazing thing to discover you were wrong, or to discover an assumption that you had is not actually the way the world works, or that works in other ways, or whatever the case is. But whenever we deeply engage with ourselves and with others around ideas that matter and go beyond what we're being taught to think, and actually think, what do I think about this? That's the access to superpowers. That's the access to creating different futures. That's the access to rejecting the premise and being able to think in new, different, and unconstrained ways. And that's why we love Thinkers High.
And I think to just build on what both of you were saying is it sounds kind of lofty and esoteric, but probably the thing that we built was the table of contents to make it very practical and lofty at the same time, right? So there's roughly 8 chapters or so. The first chapter is called Clarity. And guess what we did? We organized all of our favorite quotes around clarity. Obviously, thinking about thinking is the most important kind of thinking. But, you may have heard Pirate Christopher say this once or twice. He or she who frames a problem owns a solution. And so, if you are kind of like, do I have the right solution? Am I ready to launch this? Am I ready to publish this? Whatever. You might read that and say, well, shoot, did I actually frame the problem or not? And that'll determine if I own the solution. And, that's an important part. Or if you're having an argument with someone, your co-founder, your boss, and somebody else, what do we write? We said more than one thing can be true at the same time. Maybe we're not fighting. Maybe we're actually playing together in an important part of this whole thing. And so, some of these, they're designed to help kind of, if you're stuck, to push you forward. If you're depleted, to recharge your batteries. if you are facing a blank sheet of paper and you're like, it's like, well, what do we say? In the second chapter, courage, you know, one of our favorite sayings, reject the premise. Well, a blank sheet of paper. Well, what's the premise? How can I reject it? Not a bad place to start when you want to do something creative. And so, just as we walk through it, treasure is chapter 3, creativity, chapter 4, marketing, haha, that would be a relevant one for us. Relationships, that's a really important one that we talk about. All business, it's just business, not personal. We reject that. All business is personal. We have a chapter on AI, and we have a chapter on future, a chapter on simplicity, and then a chapter on legendary, which is, if you're feeling like, is my job meaningful? Is what I'm doing meaningful? Am I going to leave a dent in the universe? You might go and read that and you might say, if it's not legendary, why are you doing it? And that might cause you to pause and stop doing something that you're like, you know what? This is draining my energy and maybe I shouldn't be doing it. I need to do something different with it. And so, I think at some level, we're trying to create with you in real time. We do category pirates because we love thinkers high, but we also know that thinkers high, given the structure that Christopher was talking about, should get you to a practical set of outcomes. And so, this is as much of an experiment for us as it is for hopefully you, but we hope you'll pick it up and see if you are inspired. This is a great audiobook, in your car. You just got to listen to deep thoughts from the pirates, just like deep thoughts from Jack Handy. Hopefully we're funny and entertaining at the same, or educational at the same time.
And if you don't know who Jack Handy is, just go on your favorite interwebs and type in Deep Thoughts Jack Handy, and you'll learn.
Absolutely. Now, the other thing that I wanted to mention, and this is for our pirates who are book writers out here, is that you might be kind of keen to know that this is a very different kind of book that we wrote, and that, in a world, we obviously have a chapter on AI, but this is a book that we cranked the dial to 11 on AI and tried to get AI to write nearly all of it. In terms of, our AI pirates and our interns, we ingested all of our mini books and said, pick out the legendary quotes in here, right? And it did that sometimes well, sometimes not. We had to tweak that. And then once we had a legendary list of quotes, guess what? We had 4,000 or so of them, as you can imagine. So we had to synthesize them down to the 50 that we had. So we built a scorecard, did that, and it did that reasonably well, right? And then we got to the ones that we like. We had to go in as humans and still pick and choose the ones that we thought were important, but we had to organize it, right? So this is step 3, organizing all the quotes into themes. And this is where the chapters really mattered, because I think if we dropped you a bunch of 50 random quotes, it doesn't hit nearly as well as if they're structured around clarity, courage, and whatnot. And then once we organize it, step 4 was to expound upon it, right? The what, so what, now what of the AI prompt, so that you had that. And then we had a step 5 on the AI process of like, are we sure that we've organized it in the right, are the right quotes in the right chapters, given what we said? Should we trade, move them around, this and that? So kind of what do you call it? A development edit, I think, Bree, right? And then finally, we went through an edit. We went through it as a line editor and said, okay, where's grammar off? Where are the punctuation, something that, I missed or whatever else it is. But like, that's the AI process. Now, we discovered that we were not ready to fully AI this whole thing, and that there was a lot more human that we did have to interject in it, even though we put a lot of human at the original set of ingredients with it. So we're still kind of working through it. But I think what's exciting for us is that we do see a line of sight where, our writing begets writing. The more we write mini books, the more quotes that naturally get extracted, the more that the volume 2 of Thinkers High, because guess what? There will be a volume 2 and probably a volume 3. And we want to make this a collector set because we think words matter and that we want you to have the full benefit of Thinkers High. And so it's a bit of a process. We probably started too much on the AI mix with to dial it back from 11 down to somewhere, I don't know, 50-50 with it. But we think that this might actually be the easiest book that we write in terms of effort, because not because we're putting less effort into it, but because we can parse it out 15 minutes here, 15 minutes here, and lo and behold, come in the fall, we're like, oh, we're almost ready to go with it. So it's a different kind of book writing process. It is not as simple as shove it into AI and boom, it kind of gets spit out here. We had to pick the cover. That was a whole another process. We had to pick the book design that Bree helped us with, of like, because this is a different size one, right, Bree? Remind me again, this is a
Yeah,
six
this
by
is like
nine
a
or
coffee
no,
table book,
10
nice
by,
and yeah,
it's a square, right? It's a square we did on this one.
it's like a big square. I forget the exact dimensions. But you know, Eddie, what's also special about this book is we get asked all the time, hey, how do we share category design with our peers and other people? And this is the book, where it's you're wanting to share category design with your coworker, your friend. Here you go. Gift it to someone and you're off to the races, both of you.
The other thing I love about this work that we've done here is one of the most influential books of my life. I read it as a young man, young teenager, was Richard Bach's legendary book, Illusions, Tales of a Reluctant Messiah. And it's a fantastic book. I highly recommend it. It's a book I've gone back to over the years. And in the book, it's a story about these two guys that meet, and they're flying biplanes around the Midwest for money, for entertainment back in the day. Anyway, one of them is the reluctant Messiah, and the other one meets up with him, and he discovers that the reluctant Messiah in his airplane, in his biplane, has this thing. I believe it's called the Messiah's Handbook. If it's not that, it's something very close to that. And anyway, as you go through the book, what you discover is there are these legendary quotes from the Messiah's Handbook that Richard is putting in to the book Illusions itself. You can actually, if you want, just go and buy the handbook on its own. And what is it? It's just a collection of quotes. And so ever since I was a young guy, I was fascinated with like a quote book where the quotes really land. And there's a point that Bach makes, and I'll be directionally right in terms of what he says, where he says something to the effect of, you could pick up this book and look at any quote and find what you're looking for. And he said, the truth is that's true with any other book. Anyway, it's kind of a fun, whimsical idea. But for us, the ability to recreate that is really like a childhood dream for me. The fact that, yes, we've organized this by themes that make a lot of sense, clarity, simplicity is velocity. So we've tried to employ that in the design of the book. But there's another part of it around serendipity where, just like Richard Bach's book, we're aiming such that when you open Thinker's High, you could actually just pop it open on any page, look at a quote and go, huh, that's interesting. Maybe that's what I'm looking for. And so it's a bit of a childhood dream for me to create a book that hopefully has, in the world of category design, in the world of entrepreneurship, in the world of creator capitalism, and in the world of anybody who's trying to make a big difference in the world by challenging the status quo, that our book could make a difference, at least in some part, the way Richard Bach's book made a difference to me.
Love it. Love it. Well, we hope you have a book that inspired you like Richard Box did for Christopher. And we hope that you take Pirate Bree's really sharp insight of this is meant to be a gift. You can gift it to yourself, which would be thrilled for you to do. We would be thrilled, as Bree was saying, if somebody's asked you, what is this category design thing that you're obsessed with? Gift it to them. If you're asking, if you're a family member that's like, who are these yahoos, these category pirates? They're like, well, let me gift it to you. And if you're a parent like me, kids and going to college, you might gift it to them. You have somebody you're fighting with at work. You might say, look, we're- I'm not fighting with you. I'm fighting with the premise. I'm not fighting with you. I'm fighting with the past, and I'm trying to bring the future to bear. And that sometimes it's not prose, but poetry that's going to move somebody's heart to change. It might be that's what's necessary to get them to say, "Oh, you might have a point that I see the same problem with the status quo, and hey ho, it's got to go." Right? So sometimes less is more, which is kind of odd coming from us, but we hope that's you. We hope that it's a great gift to start the new year, a great gift for Valentine's Day for your work spouse if you have one of those and the like, a great gift for a spring break, a great gift for, Father's Day, Mother's Day, you pick whatever else it is. But, as we've written about, gifting is one of the most underused and yet legendary super consumer strategies. So we're speaking to our supers. We hope you like this one. Please give us feedback. Please gift it and tell us what people think. And, as we think about the magic triangle, we have the book, but we have not yet designed the category or the company for this. You'll note that this is not available on Amazon. This is only available on Shopify. We've chosen a different book publisher, Lulu, with this, and the wide variety of reasons. A nicer.
Categorypirates.store. Operators are standing by. Categorypirates.store.
So any feedback is all welcome. We're going to continue to push on this project of ours to make it as legendary as we hope. But we mostly hope that it does inspire you to creativity. It does inspire you to have some courage, and does inspire you to be as legendary as you could possibly be.
And of course, Pirates will have the links all below and where you can buy the book, where you can gift the book, and make it all easy to go and grab your copy yesterday.